Arctic is a survival drama film and is directed by Joe Penna and stars Mikkelsen. And the film is about a man who survives a plane crash and must try and survive in the Arctic. This is one of the better films I have seen recently. A large majority of this film is solid. Firstly, the cinematography was fantastic, and the best shots in the film are the long shots, as they show Mikkelsen as a tiny speck surrounded by the entire Arctic. And these shots do the best job of telling the audience how lost and alone the main character is. The performance from Mikkelsen is great. The survival aspect was gripping to watch, and with the story told here, while it is simple, it still tells it in a way to make it engaging to watch. And while this film does feel similar to other survival films, this film is still different enough to stand on its own merits. Just to get it out of the way, here are my few negatives on the film. Here is one of the few missteps with the cinematography. At most points in the film, some of the shots were out of focus. There was one shot early on in the film where Mikkelsen was entirely out of focus. And whenever this happened throughout the rest of the film, this really bugged me. Another thing I wasn't too huge on, and I understand why they did it, there is a second character in this film. And the reason this second character is here is to add more dramatic tension to moments. But I have to be honest, I think the whole film worked just with Mikkelsen. I just found this second character unnecessary. This character pretty much contributes nothing to the film. I saw this film with a friend, and he made a good point though. At some point in the film, Mikkelsen gives up trying to help the other person, but then something terrible happens and he goes back to helping her. And my friend made a good point here. The second character is to add humanity to Mikkelsen's character, because there are many times throughout this film where Mikkelsen could abandon the second character, and yet Mikkelsen still has heart to keep her safe. And while I do agree with that, I still think this film would have worked just with Mikkelsen. And that's about the only few things that really, got under my skin. But there was still a lot to like about this film. Mikkelsen is easily one of the best things about this film. This was a character I got invested in. And something I liked about this character was we're given so little about the character. We're only shown what his job is and very little bits of his background. And I know there might be some complaints saying, oh, there isn't much of a character at all. But here's what's clever. The film starts after the plane crash. So we don't know how long he's been surviving, and yet that's the only thing that matters. And with a character whose only choice is to survive or die, who really cares about his background? It's the struggles that this character goes through that make us, the audience, get behind him. And whenever there were hopeful moments, I actually cracked a smile. Overall, while I wouldn't say it's a masterpiece, this is still a great and fantastic movie. And while there are better survival films like 127 Hours and Cast Away, this film still does enough to stand on its own merits. And this movie was still a great time to watch. All the praise I have for this film must go to Mikkelsen and Joe Penna. These two definitely gave us something memorable. For Joe Penna, this is a strong directorial debut, and for Mikkelsen, this is one of the best performances I have seen from him. And while the two flaws that I mentioned and a few more hurt my final score, I would still give this a strong recommendation, and I'm gonna give Arctic an 8 out of 10. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, be sure to like my Facebook page, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to my channel below. As always, I'm NETX5. Thank you for watching.